Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. We got Joe Rogan discussing what kind of crazy you have to be in order to get the job done as president. You got to be able to make people fearful of you, to not really know if you're serious about what you're saying, but also know if he is serious. You know, my whole country is going to get flipped upside down. And that's exactly who Donald Trump is. And then we're getting into what Donald Trump has done. The Biden administration has never been able to do this. The deals have just been stalled, staled, stopped. And that is get the hostages from Hamas back into the hands of Israel and back into the hands of America, because there's some Americans there too. And apparently Biden wants credit for the deal that Trump has clearly made happen. So I'm going to be showing you what Trump has to say, what Biden has to say, and the mainstream media not siding with Biden, siding with Trump. Let's get into the Joe Rogan stuff first, and then we'll move on.
The quote about Trump, or the narrative about Trump, has always been that he's bullshitting everybody, that he's a con man. He's definitely very persuasive. You know, Scott Adams has wrote about this pretty much in depth, about how well Trump practices the art of persuasion. Mm-hmm. You know, the art of the deal. He's great at making people his friend and making relationships. And if you're his enemy, fuck you, scorched earth. You know, it's like this. And there's fear of that. You don't want to get on his bad side. There's all this, like, there's this art of, like, how he negotiates, and it's gone through this years and years and years of business. But that's him. That's the guy's right there. You could talk to him about everything and anything. He's right there. He's not protecting any of his ideas. He called a girl he allegedly slept with horseface when he was the president on Twitter.
It's so funny.
It's the wildest. So you're getting what you get. That's who the guy is, and you love. I like him. I've grown to like him. I had a much more negative opinion of him back in the day, because it was. There's only so much you can pay attention to and do deep dives on before you lose your fucking mind. And with him, I was always like, oh, that guy, they grab him by the pussy guy. Like, it's probably not good for the country. That seems crazy. But as time went on, I was like, oh, you need a guy that is completely crazy to expose how corrupt the whole system is, and how they all collude together, and how they all say this. There's all these montages of clips of news organizations saying the same narrative outright, over and over, verbatim, word by word. They're getting fed this by someone, some entity, they're somehow or another they're collaborating. And they're all choosing this very specific narrative, and they're running with it, and they're trying to destroy people with it. And I saw them do it with me. Yeah. I saw them do it with me during the COVID thing.
Amazing. Yes, sir. You know, Trump has admitted that he would, like, sit down with Putin every once in a while. He'd be like, if you do it, I'll bomb Moscow. I will. Those buildings are very nice with the points and the tips. It'd be a shame. And Putin would be like, oh, man, come on. You're not going to do that. And Trump would be like, you want to see? You want to see? How do you spell Trump Tower in Russian? Is that what your language is called? It's called Russian. How do I write it? Do I write it? Is it two words, or in your languages, is the T upside down, the R's backwards? Yes? How do I do that? Tell me now. Because I'm going to build a bunch of Trump Towers. Man, but seriously, let's move on to what's going on. We're going to have Trump explain it first. Like a gangster. This guy's the best. He's the best. This negotiator that's sitting right here that you see alongside Trump, he doesn't have to say a word right now. Trump just handles all of this. And he lets them know, and I'm sure you guys have heard about it, you know, there's going to be hell to pay. All hell is going to break loose. Listen to this.
All hell will be paid. All hell must be paid if they don't release the hostages.
Well, do I have to define it for you? Look, all hell will break out. If those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East. And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out. I don't have to say anymore, but that's what it is. And they should have given them back a long time. They should have never taken them. There should have never been the attack of October 7th. People forget that. But there was, and many people are killed. They're no longer hostages. I have people from Israel and others calling begging me to get, we had also people there from the United States, just so you know. They're holding some so-called hostages from the U.S. But I've had mothers come to me and fathers crying, can I get the body of their son back? Can I get the body of their daughter back? That beautiful girl where they threw her in the car, pulled her by her ponytail and threw her in the car like she was a sack of potatoes. I said, what happened to her? Sir, she's dead. Like a 19, 20-year-old beautiful girl. And the way they treated her. And I just say it this very simply. Steve's got a job to do. He's a great guy, great negotiator, great person. They respect him over there already. It's what we needed over there. We have people that know everything about the Middle East, but they can't speak properly. They don't know. He's a great negotiator. That's what I needed. I could have sent that gentleman right over there, Hussein. He's a great negotiator. There are people, they're rare. Great negotiators are very rare, like a great surgeon. But we have the right person. But I tell this, I don't want to hurt the negotiation. If the deal isn't done before I take office, which is now going to be 2 weeks, all hell will break out in the Middle East. Okay?
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
President.
You've done a great job.
Thank you.
He literally just slaps the guy on the back. Go ahead, get out of here. Get out. No, don't worry, I handled it. Go back to Israel. What are you doing? You going to Israel? What, Middle East? Yeah. Go over there. Don't stay there too long though, because if they don't do it by a certain time, I'm gonna, you know what I mean. I'm gonna flip the place upside down. Don't just get out of there quick, all right? And that's his negotiator, and he has a couple of more. This is 2 weeks ago. He says this. He puts it online. He makes the statement. The whole world hears it when Trump talks. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because I also got a clip from Zelensky talking about the power that Trump has. And then all of a sudden, here we go.
This is a massive deal, weeks in the making, Alex.
It certainly is, if not longer, Pam. We have been waiting for more than 13 months since the last ceasefire deal and since the last time there was an exchange of hostages and prisoners for this moment. It appears that this deal is imminent, if not done already. We're reporting that Hamas has agreed to the deal. There was certainly an expectation from the Israeli side that they would agree to a deal. All of this, of course, brokered after intensive negotiations with the mediators, the United States, Qatar, and Egypt. So this is obviously extremely welcome news after some 14 months of fighting. And what we expect to happen if indeed this deal goes into effect, is that over the course of some 6 weeks, we would see more than 30 Israeli hostages released by Hamas and other groups who are holding them in Gaza. I don't think we have the exact number of Palestinian prisoners who would be released by Israel. And then there are a bunch of other different elements that would go into effect. Palestinians would be allowed to go home in the Gaza Strip. More humanitarian aid would get to go in. But I think that the point here, Pam, is that after weeks of feverish work on the U.S. side with both Biden administration officials and officials from the incoming Trump team working in coordination with each other, they and the other mediators have managed to get the Israelis and Hamas, it appears, across the finish line, where we are going to get a truce, a pause in this fighting. One thing I really want to emphasize is this does not mean the end of this war. This means a break in this war. Hopefully this break will last at least 6 weeks, if not longer. Hopefully all of these people will come home who are supposed to come home. But there are big questions about what would happen after this first phase of a ceasefire, which, as it stands now, and this plan has been in place for quite some time since President Biden laid it out in May. This is expected to last around 6 weeks. So we're still waiting for final word, I believe, from all of the parties. But this certainly seems imminent, if not a done deal already.
I want to go back to MJ Lee at the White House. I believe we're reconnected. MJ, what can you tell us about this plan?
Well, Pam, according to a senior administration official telling CNN, it is done, it is confirmed, meaning that Hamas has given that final green light, agreeing to this ceasefire and hostages release deal that had been on the table for a while. And based on all of our reporting, we knew that this really was the final step that all of the parties were waiting for, that it really came down to this group agreeing to the parameters that everybody else had agreed to. Part of the reason we have been so cautious in our reporting all of this time is precisely that in the end, it came down to Hamas giving this final green light. And when we have spoken to at least U.S. officials involved in these discussions and with knowledge of the situation, they always pointed to the fact that it was impossible to make any kind of predictions with certainty because at the end of the day, they were dealing with Hamas. But again, here we have it, confirmation from a senior administration official that Hamas has finally given the green light and there is a deal for a ceasefire in Gaza and for the hostages to be released.
Very interesting stuff. I got to be honest. Let's move on to what Zelensky has to say in regards to Trump, because this is just a testament to what Joe Rogan was saying. But I got to just say really quick, I'm surprised there's any hostages at all. I mean, listen, I know it sounds callous, but between terrorists and between the way Israel is bombing that place, I'm surprised there's anybody left. I got to be completely honest with you. Because if they're going, where are the hostages? Because if they're going for tunnels, maybe they're outside of Gaza. Maybe they're in like another place in the Middle East. I don't know. But if they're in the tunnels and you're blowing up the tunnels, I would think you would have got a couple of the hostages. I don't know. That's just me. I know if one of my family members was one of those hostages, I'd be like, oh, can you slow down the bombing? My sister, bro. What are you doing? But again, I wear a tinfoil Speedo, so don't mind me, all right? Let's hear from Zelensky here.
It won't be long because Europe will be looking at us and we'll be looking at Trump. And by the way, I now see that when I talk about something with Donald Trump, whether we meet in person or we just have a call, all the European leaders always ask, how was it? This shows the influence of Donald Trump. And this has never happened before. With an American president, I tell you from my experience, this also gives you confidence, that he can stop this war. It won't be long.
So if you're wondering, that's not actually Zelensky speaking English. Lex Friedman actually had this podcast AI dubbed. So it is Zelensky's voice. It is exactly what he's saying, but it's just like a little AI thing. And like, in case you're wondering a little bit there, they did a whole interview, but just that there just shows all of the world leaders. That's a lot of world leaders to just be calling up after you meet with Trump. You know what I mean? They're all calling to see how it's going, to see what happened. What did he say? Again, and then Zelensky says, this has never happened with an American president. He's saying it right in the face of Biden. Biden's still there. People are acting like Biden's dead. Biden's not dead, guys, just so you know. Kind of, but not really. You know what I mean? No more deader than he was like 2 years ago. You know what I mean? He's still around. He's still, you know what I mean? He's still getting his ice cream licks in. He's out there. He was at Jimmy Carter's funeral, looking up into the heavens like, I'll see you soon, Jimmy. I'll see you soon. Save a spot for me. I'm probably looking down. Hey, Jimmy. Hey, save a spot for me down there. No, I'm kidding. Jimmy was a good man. You see what I did there? Now, what he's saying is, this has never happened with an American president before. It only shows more so that Trump is the one who you're going to credit with this happening. The timeline makes sense. The fact that people are saying Trump has all this power makes sense. And then you start to slowly hear it in the mainstream media. This is CBS. And they're talking about, I'll just play it for you. They're talking about partial credit here, which is ridiculous.
Let's go live now to CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes, close to President-elect Donald Trump in West Palm Beach, Florida. Trump now posting to social media, Nancy, about this deal. What can you tell us about that?
Well, he is claiming at least partial credit, Liz. He's calling it an epic ceasefire agreement, and he is claiming that it could only have happened because he was elected in November. What he is saying is that the fact that he has been arguing for weeks that there would be hell to pay if there wasn't a hostage deal before he came into office next week. That he's saying that pushed the parties across the finish line. And he goes on to say in this statement, "We have achieved so much without even being in the White House. Just imagine all the wonderful things that will happen when I return to the White House." Now, I imagine the Biden administration would quibble with this characterization. They have been engaged in these very delicate on and off negotiations for months. But you're already hearing from Republicans on Capitol Hill, like Senator John Cornyn of Texas, who's saying it is no coincidence that this is getting over the finish line now with just a few days until Donald Trump takes office.
I'm telling you, nobody wants that issue with Trump. Bibi does not listen. Listen, I know people are always like, Israel runs America. Bro, Bibi doesn't want a problem right now. I'm telling you guys. And of course, I always admit my biases. I get that. But Bibi doesn't want that issue. Bibi doesn't want the president of the United States of America saying, "Oh, are you the issue?" Because let me tell you something. I run America. When we figure out the issue, maybe not so much on our own soil, because we got some issues here that people haven't been dealing with. But when we figure out the issue outside of America, buddy, we deal with it. Are you the issue? Okay, you're signing. Good, that's good. Hamas, are you the issue? I'm telling you, people don't want that issue, man. Go check the stats on what's going on from army to army and who's really in charge. I mean, seriously, because it can get crazy. Ever since Trump bombed that general, that Iranian general, the guy put out a tweet. Listen, the guy was a dangerous guy, but he put out a tweet that said, "I will stand against you," and died weeks later. Everyone remember. That's why those European leaders are calling Zelensky like, "Are you okay? Did you say anything rude? You weren't rude or anything, were you? We're just really close to Ukraine. You didn't say anything rude. You didn't? Okay. Are you okay? You're good. Okay. All right. They're giving you more money? Oh my God. I really hope you can pay it back." Oh man. Anyway, this is Biden here, not taking lightly the fact that somebody's asking him about the weight Trump had in this whole thing.
Thank you. Books credit for this, Mr. President, you or Trump?
Is that a joke? Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Books credit for this, Mr. President, you or Trump?
Is that a joke? Oh, thank you.
No, it's not a joke, man. Come on. Biden is, Ben Shapiro said recently, I didn't actually watch his videos because, I'm not tuned out on Ben Shapiro, but, I just saw like a headline quickly. And he was saying, the Trump that you're seeing, or sorry, the Biden that you're seeing right now, that's the real Biden. This person who doesn't want to admit Trump is actually helping him in his administration. This guy who's like, you know what? Here's a middle finger for you, Kamala. Here's one for you, Barack. Here's one for you, Nancy. Like, this is the guy. This is the guy, I wish he had that same fury as a leader and, and actually had a love for the American people. But this is what you're seeing. This is him. He could easily, I'm going to show you a clip right now. Someone in his own administration. Hold on. Let's jump over to that quick. Someone in his own administration admitting how important Trump's participation in this whole thing is. But he can't? It's ridiculous.
When it comes to the involvement of President-elect Trump's team, it has been absolutely critical in getting this deal over the line. And it's been critical because, obviously, as I stand here today, this administration's term in office will expire in 5 days. And one of the things that we have always said about this deal is that when you get from stage 1 to stage 2, that the United States, Egypt, and Qatar are the guarantors of this deal. And Egypt and Qatar will push Hamas to stay at the bargaining table and to get from stage 1 to stage 2. And the United States will push Israel to stay at the bargaining table to get from phase 1 and phase 2. So obviously those are promises we cannot make on behalf of the United States for any longer than the next 5 days. And so it's critical that all of the parties to the agreement and the other mediators see that when the United States is in the room making commitments, those are lasting commitments that extend beyond this administration into the next one. I would just say, lastly, I don't know if it's unprecedented to have envoys from an outgoing and an incoming administration sitting at the same table negotiating a ceasefire agreement of this kind. But if it's not unprecedented, it's certainly unusual. And we, of course, thank the Trump team for working with this on this ceasefire agreement. We think it's important that they were at the table. And
there you go. And, as he's talking about this, when he's talking about sitting at the table, he's talking about these negotiators that Trump has, these cabinet members that Trump has, that he's willing to have get into this whole thing and make things happen. But at the end of the day, when everybody knows Trump won, because this was the election heard around the world, everyone knew when Trump won. Everybody was watching the map. Everybody saw the 312 and saw Kamala just not show up to her own rally where people were waiting for her. Everyone saw this happen. As soon as they knew, and then all of a sudden Trump is saying there's going to be hell to pay. All hell's going to break loose in the Middle East. That's not even him saying Israel's going to be safe. He's just like, all over the Middle East. BB is probably like, Donald, we are in the Middle East. We're okay. We're still okay. We're cool. You and I, yes? I really need this to happen, BB. Are you going to be at the table or not? Yes, of course. Of course I'm going to be at the table. Okay. All of the Middle East will experience hell on earth, okay? That's all I'm saying. The bombs are too big, BB. They're very big bombs that I have. I don't know how safe I can keep you. You know what I mean? And I'm making a joke, but at the same time, he didn't specify. He just said the Middle East. He's like, all hell's going to break loose in the Middle East. Like, what are you saying when you say that? But that's the type of stuff that Trump says that everybody goes, what happened? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? No one knows what's going to happen. Egypt's like, wait, hold on. I didn't do anything. Lebanon's like, wait. Syria's like, hold on. We're already in rubble. What's happening? What do you mean? And Trump's is like, everybody get in line. So that's fun to see. Joe Rogan said it best. You need a guy that is crazy enough, not just to expose everything that's happening on the inside on American soil, but also someone who can expose what needs to happen on the world stage. Someone who can actually get people in line, as he is already doing. And I can't wait to see how fast it all happens. And I can't wait for Joy Reid to spin it and tell me why it's racist that he got all of these conflicts solved. I can't wait. It's going to be great. Joy Reid's going to be like, terrorists should be able to do whatever they want. Who is he, a white man, to tell these people of color and to tell these people of who are Jewish that they can't fight? Who is he to mansplain to these minorities? Oh, I can't wait. It's going to be ridiculous. Anyways, guys, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications, helps the channel tremendously. And other than that, I'm out.